I can't. Second thing is we just completed, many of you may have been in the room, a water strategy meeting that I thought was very, very well done and gives everyone an idea of the complexity, the lack of certainty that the town is facing. And I also the fact that we are in good shape for the next for the foreseeable future. But we will be cut back, it seems, almost entirely firm. But the town is executing strategies to take care of that, and we can look forward to keeping the water in the system permanently. Let's put it that way. Town manager report.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, no report tonight.
Okay. You sound like a little under the weather tonight. Yeah. Called the public.
Bob, I apologize. I don't know how to say your last name. Lefebvre. Sorry, Bob Lefebvre.
It's not going to take you 3 minutes. Hi, Bob Lefebvre, 36594 North 36th Street here in Cave Creek. Members of the council, good evening. Several residents affected by resolution 2025-25 are present tonight. Since the last meeting, we have submitted formal written objections into the public record with supporting exhibits documenting property-specific impacts, including drainage, access, utilities, safety, wildlife, traffic, and emergency access considerations. We understand that tonight is not the venue for detailed discussion, and we appreciate that a neighborhood meeting has been scheduled for January 14th. We look forward to that meeting as the appropriate forum to review the facts, the scope of the patent easement, and possible emergency access alternatives. We ask that the council ensure that no further action is taken before that process is completed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gary Page.
Gary Page, 36410 North 36th Street. I just wanted to go over Glory Road a little bit. There's been a lot of emotion around this discussion, and I just wanted to go back and look at, the history and the facts of things. In 1998, the homes that were in 96, there was a road there, Glory Road. In 98, Bob's home was built. In June of 2016, they extended that federal patent along to create the legal access into that area. If one pulls the building permits and stuff, you can see that. And on the aerial photography, you can see that. When Melissa built her house, and she was one of the individuals talked about in that petition, the plans, if you look at that, show that the Glory Road is there. And she said in a meeting that she intentionally had her build her roadway on Glory Road to block it off, to create a cul-de-sac, which then violates the federal land patent, blocks existing roadways. And this started in 2008. There's cars that are parked there visible on aerial photography, trucks, as well as other blockages were placed. Glory Road in front of Bob and Martha's fell into disuse, of course, and quarter minus was placed in 2009. It's visible on aerial photography up to 2022. At this point, there's lots of barriers there. There's lots of other actions that have been going on. And for this reason, the town activated the federal land patent to be able to provide access for emergency and other things. There's other people that have talked about the cul-de-sac issue. It's not. I wanted just to talk about briefly an incident that I had. If we continue to maintain the status quo, it doesn't address any concerns of the two petitions that were filed 10 years apart. Providing access. In April of this year, I was told by Bob to take the long way around Cloud to get to my neighbor. He was going to put up no motorized vehicles, no trespassing signs, going to call the sheriff about used Glory Road. This was after the town told him he couldn't do that. Okay. He uses my patent, no questions, drives down it. He has the same patent. I can't use his under threat of being arrested. So where do I stand? I'm no longer against the road. I want my signature transferred to that petition in August 2025. I think the town should follow through with their plan. I think it will restore and reestablish Glory Road to what it was intended to be, a road. It provides additional fire truck access. It provides a convenience for the neighborhood. It'll put an end to the ongoing issues of blockage and erroneous patent infringements. Solves the two petitions, 2015, 2025, and addresses those. So I would ask that the town follow through. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning or evening, sorry. So I'm his wife. I live at 36410 North 36th Street. We own a big portion of 36th Street and it is extremely, extremely narrow. We had some problems over Christmas. Neighbors wanted to get by, but our road is right along a wash and it's washing out. And in 3 or 4 places, it's actually washing up to the road, which is kind of scary. So we are trying to do some maintenance on putting rock out. While we were doing maintenance, trying to get the drainage right on our property, we had neighbors pull up and say they needed us to move immediately. We had some rock in the back of our vehicle and it just was almost done. And we said, just give us a quick sec and let us move it. And it was like, no, you need to move like right now. And then I was told that I was very rude for just unloading the couple of blocks of rock. It is not 2 lanes. 2 cars can't fit by. They couldn't go around me. I also we had a problem when we were driving into 36th Street from Cloud and a neighbor stopped in front of us and we couldn't get around without driving onto someone else's landscaping. My husband ended up having to drive around onto the people's landscaping because this neighbor refused to move while she was talking to a resident right there on the corner. All of this is very frustrating to us, and we feel like we need that road for the fact that we don't have the space for 2 cars. We never will. But if that road needs to be blocked for some reason, there's another way that we can get in and out on 34th. I'm going to have to shut down our road to actually reseal it and repave it. And when that happens, there's 3 residents back there that have because Bob has overgrown his patent easement up for Glory Road there. There is no real way for people to be able to access 36th Street. So when I do have to shut down the road to fix potholes and things like that, there's going to be a problem with people being able to access their house for 24 hours. Also, if there was a huge water problem not too long back and the water was rushing and residents had to kind of sneak by trucks that were doing maintenance on 34th Street. And if there is ever any problems where maintenance needs to be done along Cloud, it does make sense to have a little bit of Glory Road open so that residents can actually access Cloud in a different way. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I have no additional speakers.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is a presentation on the Spur Cross 25th anniversary.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We have a really fun event coming up this weekend, and I want to thank Councilmember McGuire for all of his input to help point in the right direction for many things, and because he has so many years' experience with this, and it was very beneficial. And I think you'll see some of your work when you get there on Friday. But anyway, we have a big event coming up this Friday. It's the 25th anniversary of the Spur Cross anniversary, or Spur Cross Conservation Area. And it's more than just we built a park. This was a long-term battle that the town went through that many of you remember to achieve this. It took at least 15 years of campaigning in the town. It took a lot of work with Senator McCain's office. It took a lot of work with the governor's office and so many others. And that's what we're hoping to pay homage to at this event. So So anyway, as I mentioned, it's this Friday at 10 a.m. It's going to be at the Spur Cross Conservation Area parking lot. It's the northeast side of it on the helipad is where the main activities will be taking place. But we also have some activities that will be happening on the picnic area down there where you see some current landmark plaques and things like that. So you can see some of the partners that we have in this that we've been working with to put this program on, and they'll have booths there to hand out things to the kids and the adults and give information about their programs as well. In addition, we are working closely with the Hopi tribe and the Yavapai, the Fort McDowell Yavapai Nation. Actually, the chairman of the Hopi tribe is going to come and do a blessing before the event because of the Native American people that were on that land and traveled through that land as it was being formed, or not formed, but 700 to 1200 years ago. And it's important that we respect them and what they've done for this area. Here's just a list of our presenters. As you can see, Chairman Kivama is the Hopi tribe chairperson. He's going to be coming down from the Hopi Mesa on Thursday, and he'll be doing a presentation and a blessing on Friday. Then you can see the others that will be here. This is not necessarily the order. However, it's a good list. The governor couldn't make it, but she's sending her kind of number one land person in to talk for this event. So they saw that this was an important event. Chairperson Kate Brophy McGee was excited to come to this, and so I'm looking forward to hearing her comments, as well as Mayor Morris and former Mayor Francia kind of talking about the history of this as well. And so there's going to be quite a bit of information about the history and where the park system's going in the future. So it should be fun. We also have a special dedication. We've commissioned to have a display made that will kind of highlight the mountain range and kind of show what you can see from the park. And this is if you were standing in the picnic area. And that photograph is kind of a panorama. We decided against creating like a half circle type panorama vision, so you can like turn and see like, okay, there's Skull Mesa over here. So we had to go, it's more linear or more flat. But this is being installed maybe tomorrow, but probably Thursday, and it'll be unveiled. It's a secret, so don't tell anyone, Friday morning. And so we're really kind of excited about it. And what you see there, and it's built locally. Paul Diefendorfer is doing all the metal work. And it's in a 3D layer. It's 3 layers of steel, rusted steel, and that follows the horizon that you see in the background. And that visual there, that picture, we've actually made into as part of that display unit, so that people are looking at it. If you can see on the side view, you can see that's angled, so you can look at the display, kind of see where it's going to on the mountain, then actually see the mountain in the distance. And so they know okay, that's what that mountain's called, or that's where I want to hike next. And so, and again, Councilmember McGuire, thank you very much for kind of pointing out some of these things. This is just a draft here, so don't yell at me if a line's off a little bit. We worked on this to get as close as possible, and having local input as well has helped make this come together. Some of the activities that will be happening in addition to the presentations, Maricopa County has been great to work with, the park system, and we're putting together several hikes throughout the weekend. You can see also that Councilmember McGuire is going to be a part of that activity as well. The informational booths, you see some of the groups that will be there, including our Tourism Bureau and Wild at Heart, and they're hoping to release an animal, a bird of some kind, during that event. So that should be exciting. And then on Friday too, this is really kind of cool. The conservation area is opening up for free entry into the park. And so hopefully that brings a lot more people out there and is just part of the celebration. They get to see what our town's all about. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Questions from council? Very good. Welcome, Dusty.
Good.
Thank you, Bo.
Well, thank you.
Yep, we're looking forward to the event.
Yeah.
It has been a great partnership, and I think both the preceding presentation, our partnerships with other towns, a partnership with the state, with the county, with the land trust, it just goes on and on. If you get friends, you can get a lot more done than you can by yourself. And including our current project with this, which is the 4,005 acres to the west of town, is perhaps our generation's ability to add our little piece to what's been done in Cape Creek.
Yeah, thank you.
Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. First of all is the council discussion and possible approval of the town's unmarked vehicles for 2026, council approval of the 2026 regular council meeting calendar, and approval of the November 18th, 2025 regular town council meeting minutes. Does anyone on council wish to discuss any of these before we put it up for a motion? Okay.
What kind of cars are they going to be? No.
Law enforcement. Okay. And as the staff report indicates, because of consideration trying to keep these undercover, council has an opportunity to see in the office of the clerk what vehicles those are.
Okay, is there a motion? Somebody want to make that?
Someone.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Next on the agenda is the council discussion, a public hearing, possible approval of resolution number 2026-01, rescinding previously adopted utility rates and adopting and amending the monthly service charges, usage rates, and rate structure for utility services in the Cave Creek Water and Desert Foothills Water and Cave Creek wastewater service areas.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. I have with me today Kevin Burnett, our consultant with Willdan, who has been working on the rate study. So he's here to answer any questions you may still have lingering on that. But I'm going to lead us through the presentation. So part of the direction that we had gotten when we embarked on the rate study was that council had a desire that we debt finance as much of the CIP projects as possible to help keep rates as low as we possibly could. That extends the cost of those projects out over the time of the debt service. Anytime that we could delay CIP projects to be able to do that, which that was multiple times of reviewing the CIP project list. Minimizing or eliminating general fund subsidies and the cash loans wherever we could, and whenever possible, start building in repayment of those. And then also to wait on implementing a water resource fee until we had more information about the water resource costs. Some of the assumptions and things that have changed in this rate study was one was related to the sales tax allocation. So council did approve eliminating a portion of the 1/2-cent spur cross sales tax that was going to essentially Cave Creek Water via the Water Infrastructure Fund, which is kind of a weird situation. It's not normally how it's done of having that pass through. It was just a pass through fund, that Water Infrastructure Fund. And then eliminating dedicated 1/2-cent tax that was going to wastewater as well, that was dedicated for utilities. But because of the needs within wastewater, it was essentially going there and still didn't suffice what was needed. There were, as I mentioned, several reviews of CIP projects and the timelines of those projects. I think Sean went through the list probably at least 6 times, if not more. There was adjustments at looking at what the growth was, conservative growth as far as new connections. In the master plan, it looked at 2.5% per year, but that's like over a long time period. And the way things happen are typically more not a straight line, but more fluctuating of sometimes there's some peaks and a lot of times there's valleys. So we were conservative in our approach because we're looking at a very short time frame and not expecting 2.5% per year over the short time frame. And then we also assumed that we were not going to be able to meet the requirements on the revenues. And so debt service reserves were assumed to be funded for future WIFA loans. Some of the rate structures, Sean had actually mentioned some of this in the public information meeting that we had earlier. So we have adjusted the lowest tier for the residential water usage. The lowest tier currently is 0 to 10,000 gallons, and we are adding a 0 to 4,000 gallons, and then the 4 to 10,000. So that helps those who don't use much water and typically either they're just really conservative with their water usage, or a lot of times you'll find that they're on fixed incomes and can't really afford to be spending a lot. We also changed the top tier. So currently the top tier is greater than 50,000. So we lowered it to greater than 40,000 gallons per month. As Sean and Brad Hill had talked about, some are even less than that. And as we went through this, we thought this probably should be kind of a step process. And we'll look at future decreases on that top tier in the next rate study. We also looked at higher escalation for greater water usage. So as the tiers go up from the 0 to 4,000, 4,000 to 10, 10 to 20, et cetera, the acceleration in the increase in those tiers, we bump that up a little bit so that those who are using significant amounts of water are having greater cost to cover. As far as the Cave Creek water, the revenue increases. So when we do the rate study, we're looking at what are the costs of the system and how much revenue is needed in order to be able to cover those costs. And then you take what that revenue amount is that's needed and figure out how you're going to structure the rates to calculate how much is going to be paid. So looking at the revenue side, we looked at 6% increases for the 26, 27, 28. Each of these are effective at the beginning of calendar year because of timelines. This will be effective the beginning of February for the first one, but the following two would be January for each of those years in 27 and 28. So this still incurs general fund subsidy. We are projecting that general fund subsidies would go down, that debt service coverages would still not be where we would want by the end of that time period. It's below the level to not be required to have a debt service reserve through WIFA, but it does meet the minimum requirements in order to get a WIFA loan. And then the end of year cash, so you can see the cash would be growing. Part of the growth would be related to debt service reserves for the WIFA loans that we would need to have. Also working on having some other reserves in the funds that are not capable of having right now with operating reserves and equipment replacement reserves and such. For Desert Hills, also looking at 6% increases each year, going from a deficit in cash to some positive cash, which is still not enough to cover an operating reserve or debt service reserves. And on wastewater, 6% each year and 5% in the third year. And again, here we're looking at very low debt service coverage numbers. So any WIFA loans, we would just barely be meeting the requirements for that to be able to get a loan, but not enough to have a debt service reserve waived. And you see that the general fund subsidy still continues to be quite significant in wastewater, even with those increases. So looking at Cave Creek water rates first. So these are the monthly base charges that are based off of meter size and whether the meters are at a boosted site or not. So comparison between the current and then what we are requesting of rate increases for the next 3 years. In previous discussions, we've talked about that we feel like not too long after getting this rate study completed, we'll probably need to start another one fairly soon that is a more comprehensive. This one was really intended to just be an update because of the utility master plan and all the projects that were shown up there. But with the conservation programs that Sean's working on and the water resources and all of those different things, we need to look at what our water usage attributes of the customers and update that information, which is a very lengthy process. So this will help get us through that time period until we're ready to come back with adjustments on rates at that point in time. For the volumetric side of the rates, so these amounts are per 1,000 gallons. So the current tiers on the left-hand side, you can see the first tier is the 0 to 10,000, and then the proposed tiers in the middle going to a lower tier of 0 to 4,000. So some lower rates there per 1,000 gallons, and then escalating based off of the tiers. And this one is, excuse me, is single and multifamily. This is the volumetric for commercial within Cave Creek Water. Then we have the common area and commercial irrigation rates, which are slightly different. And then commercial pools, which are also separate rates. Also, there are the tie-in rates for Cave Creek Water, for bulk water. These are the rates that we use for charging to Desert Hills. So the rates actually haven't changed since the last rate study. So this is reflecting some increases there. As Sean mentioned, we're not expecting to get any NIA water probably anytime in the near future. But if at some point we do, we have a rate available to be able to use that rate. We'll most likely be relying on our M&I water. And in that situation, it's selling them our M&I water and treating and delivering, whereas the NIA water, Desert Hills was paying for directly, and Cave Creek Water was treating and delivering. These are the same examples that were provided of actual customers and some average uses as far as representative of low use and average and high use and very high use. So on the low use, it's a customer using about 2,400 gallons per month. And so you can see with the rate increase, it's primarily coming from the base fee, that their bill would go from about $76 to about $78, not quite $79. The average use customer of about 13,000 gallons would go up about 6%. The high usage customer at 54,000 gallons would go up 22%. And then the very high usage customer would be going up 18%. So the high use customer with the higher rate is because of lowering that tier from the greater than 50,000 to greater than 40,000. So some of their, more of their water is getting thrown into the higher tiered bucket.
I have a question. We have customers that actually are using 4 acre feet of water a year.
That's not even the highest.
That's insane.
Sean did mention of talking with those who use the most water and working with them.
You know, maybe a disincentive is next time around, we take a look at really charging them through the nose, like 50,000 a month or so, if they're going to use that much. That will definitely get them to cut the rate of usage. But that is an insane amount. I mean, we're talking about a shortfall right now, 500 to 600 acre feet. I mean, if you have 5 customers that do that, that's a quarter year shortfall. This is insanity.
This is same slide as was presented before on the number of customers within each one of those buckets. So there's actually quite a lot of customers in that 0 to 4,000. And these are the residential customers, and even up to the 10,000, the 20,000. When you get to those larger ones, you can see that those quantity, the number of customers drops significantly. So those that are over, say 30,000 gallons, you've got 60 and 56, so 116 customers that are in those really high tiers. This is a look at the commercial customers, and again, a significant number of the commercial customers are in that lowest tier of the 0 to 10,000. On the commercial side, it can vary a lot depending upon the type of business. So what is low usage for one customer that maybe is in an industry that uses a lot of water would be different than someone that maybe is using a lot, but in their industry, they don't need a lot of water. So it's hard to gauge in this type of situation. Okay. Moving on to Desert Hills rates. So these are the monthly base charges, again, based off of meter size and whether it's boosted or not boosted. And so we had talked about how an evaluation was done of the boosted, because the Desert Hills system is a little different than the Cave Creek system as far as cost involved in the boosted. So we were able to lower the boosted amounts. That does not mean that we're collecting less revenue. It means the revenue is being collected from different fees and charges. It's just reallocated. So for the residential volumetric rates, so you can see that the 0 to 4,000 in the proposed tiers are lower than what the 0 to 10,000 tiers are. So those who are in that lowest bucket would see some savings there. And then each one of the tiers escalate from there. And Desert Hills on the commercial side. Some increases there going from the 0 to 10,000 to the greater than 40,000. These are the customers again that were presented before, the low usage customers. So at about 2,800 gallons a month. So that person's bill would go down 7%. All of the customers, when I was searching for customers that would be examples in Desert Hills, are on boosted. So each one of them, you see them at the boosted rate. So this particular customer, the low usage, gets a little bit of break on their base fee. And then because they use so little, a little bit of break on their volumetric fee. So they get the combination there for the 7% decrease. The average usage at about 15,000, so that one is essentially flat. And then the high usage customer at about 44,000 gallons sees a 14% increase. And so it's a little bit different on the Desert Hills side. On Cave Creek side, the residential customers, the 0 to 4,000 was very, very high. It's not quite as high here, but quite a lot in the 4,000 to 10,000. So up to 20,000, that's where the bulk of the customers are. And then when you get to like 30,000 or more, so that's 92 customers there. And then on the commercial side, so there's not a lot of commercial businesses on the Desert Hills water system. For wastewater.
Yeah. Sure. Thank you for this presentation. It's great. In Desert. This is a great presentation. In Desert Hills, we see there are relatively few in that 40,000 gallon range. Is that a reflection that there aren't restaurants and high-end users there, unlike in Cave Creek? Is it the business?
I believe there are maybe one or two. Really, the one. I mean, it's not like it's really confidential information, but the one I believe is the school district that's on the high end.
There aren't many on the high end there.
Right.
But maybe the businesses there are rather different than the profile that we see within the town.
Exactly.
That's the point I'm trying to make.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you, Sherry.
Yes. So for Cave Creek, the wastewater, these are monthly fees. So residential pays a flat charge. So that would be going from about $90 to about $95. Non-residential has a flat fee, base fee, and when we get to the next page, then there are some volumetric costs. And then for interceptor devices, the cost would be going up a little bit there as well. So in the non-residential category, there's also volumetric rates for 1,000 gallons that are starting over 10,000. So the first 10,000 is included in their base rate. And then anything over and above that, then they pay per 10,000 gallons, these rates. And it's based off of different categories. You'll see that restaurant is the highest, which is one of the highest as far as the cost to treat the waste that comes from a restaurant. So there was a study done in the past that looked at what the all the various components of the waste, the BODs and all that stuff, as far as the cost to treat. And so that's based off of that. And these are just copies of those slides from before as far as where the average bill would end up being. So you can see at the low end, so we've got like Wickenburg and Scottsdale and Paradise Valley. When you get more towards the middle, then you start getting into where Cave Creek water currently is, and then the different proposed amounts and the Desert Hills proposed. We did go with non-seasonal, so the ones that say Cave Creek proposed revised current would be where we're at. And then this was an average on the sewer bills. So starting at the left side, the ones that are on the lowest end is Phoenix, Scottsdale, Peoria. And when you get over to the right side is when you start getting into where Cave Creek is at the last two columns as far as the current and the proposed.
So the last two slides that you showed for water and wastewater, it seems that the larger the customer base, the cheaper the bill, correct?
It does help with the economies of scale, absolutely.
Because I'm looking here, Scottsdale has 200,000, roughly 250,000, something like that.
Probably.
And they're about half our price.
Correct.
So there is a economy of scale thing going on here, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. Also, Sherry, isn't it the large lots that we have makes it more difficult to build the infrastructure to our customers? I would think that's a large measure also.
Yeah, so part of that gaining the economies of scale can also be affected by density. So some of the more dense areas are going to see some more economies of scale just because of the density.
And we're only servicing a particular part of the community. So yeah. Difficult sometimes to compare apples and oranges, but we do what we can.
Yes. There's basically no two systems alike. You're not going to find an apple and apple when you're comparing utility systems.
Wickenburg has approximately the same kind of density that we do. They have 2.5, 5 acre, 1 acre, quarter acre lots. So similar to where we have.
Okay. So what we're asking for is to adopt rate increases for the next 3 years to help give us a little bit of time to work on a more comprehensive rate study. The rate study, like in the study report, it goes out several years just for planning purposes to see like what kind of track we're on. But the other bullet that I have here is asking that we rescind what the rates that were previously adopted for 26 through 28 and implementing these. So if we go too far out in the future, having council adopt rates. And as we're trying to incorporate things as they're changing, because we're in a rather dynamic situation right now, we'd probably end up just rescinding them anyway. So that's what we're recommending. The effective date. So for the 2026 rates, they would be effective February 5th. And for 27 and 28, then we would go back to the first whole billing period in January of each of those years. So we're a little offset on our billing periods, but we are working on towards getting them to be a little more aligned with the months. So that's what I have.
Questions from council? Any more questions? Cynthia?
Mayor. In the future for rate analysis studies, would that also include looking at drought contingency plan and seeing what additional policies could be changed along with that?
Yes, that would more rely on Sean doing those updates.
Thank you.
Questions? We've been through this a few times, so.
Yes.
And Kevin, it's always good to see you. Okay, so we do have, we have a hearing on this, so I will open the public hearing. Do we have any comments on the?
Just the online comment.
Yeah, okay. We had this comment come in from Ann and Paul Teixeira. We strongly oppose a rate increase. When the rates were initially increased, D/T purchase, due to the purchase of a dilapidated system at an exorbitant price, residents were told the price would decrease once repairs were made. We have had price increases instead, and this would be another without any increase in service value. For example, I guess that's an abbreviation for example. Residents in our neighborhood routinely have to pay for repairs due to the town's inability to control pressure. This is not fiscally responsible to residents and once again breaks the promise made when rates were initially increased. We already pay 4 times what we paid before the town purchased the private water company. We oppose placing further financial burden on Cape Creek residents. And that's from Mr. and Mrs. Teixeira. Okay, with no further comments, I will close the hearing. And we are ready for a motion on this potential item.
Move to approve resolution number 2026-01.
I will second that.
It's yours.
Okay. You had the motion?
Yes, I don't see any way around this. I think that we had to reduce what we initially had proposed to ensure that our residents aren't completely overcharged for their water. It's a finite resource that costs a lot of money just to get here. So we're paying for all of the infrastructure that's required to provide reliable service. And we're doing the best we can to monitor the costs and ensure that we still have water in the future. You know, with that, I approve this resolution.
Okay, I'm a water customer, so I am not putting anything on anybody else that I wouldn't do myself. I especially want to note that the commercial water we pay runs the town because the sales taxes are all we have for fire departments, roads, and everything else. So there is a part of this that is that it really is the driver towards the town being even in existence. The conservation was a real key in this one. Also trying to keep a lifeline rate so we don't price everybody out of town. And I do notice that the increase for the very high customers was $600 a month, and for the medium customer was $6 a month, which is, to me, that seems reasonable because conservation is built into these rates, and it'll probably be built in the rates to come. I think you'll see more and more. So those accounts that are way up there are going to be penalized quite substantially if this doesn't work. Next, it's based on fairness. It's an allocation procedure that we use that has two. One is the cost allocation. The second is like conservation to achieve objectives that we set for the town that makes the town better. So fairness is a major part in this. It's using nationally recognized processes to do that. Next, Arizona. There's not a town in Arizona that isn't putting in 10, 20, 30, 40% increases over just a few years. Phoenix, I looked at theirs the other day, and they're putting in double. They're going to double their rates, and I think you're going to see that everywhere because we live in a desert, and the tap from Colorado is going to be decreased, and so it really is essential that we keep reliable, because if it's not, we have to abandon ship. Reliability is the absolute minimum to keep a water system going. If we lose the water for 2 weeks, which the water interconnect project was designed to prevent, we have to abandon ship. I mean, what are you going to do if you don't have water for 2 weeks? And that could happen. And that's going to go into operation mid-year and will give us a great deal, give our water people a full night's sleep for the first time. The second thing is we put in emergency services with no increase in rates. And part of that was to stopping the subsidies that the general fund was supplying to put that money, the money that we save from that is to put emergency services in. So if there is an increase in water, there was also an increase in safety in the town, and the people who are paying for rural metro no longer have to pay that. So this is part of we have to balance the whole system, the general fund and the rest of it. And the water system is some of the increases in there are frankly going to fund emergency services. Those subsidies are going away. Next, I would challenge staff to keep the expenses under control. I think that has got to be, and I know it's going to be tough. There's no way you can economize on water purchases, but as far as power, personnel, contract expenses, chemicals, I would challenge staff to keep those under control. I'm going to vote in favor. Other comments? Let's start on the left here and just go. Yeah,
Thank you,
Cynthia?
Mayor. I think the rate study accomplishes an important step in decreasing the general fund subsidies, as you said, in 26-27 and 27-28, as well as decreasing the general fund loans to the Desert Hills Water. I think there's room when we look at a future rate study to maybe do a deeper dive into some of the uses. And that's look at not just who's using the highest water, but what kind of parcels are they? What are the uses? And that can help guide some decisions about whether there's a need for hard cap limits on water distribution for customers, or if rate increases is the correct way to control that. So a couple of future options for that. It is difficult to vote for a rate increase that impacts all the water users. I find that hard. At being a well water users, I can control my own expense. It doesn't mean there aren't any expenses, but it's a different scenario than looking at annual increases coming up. But I feel it's necessary to continue to keep balancing the expense, not taking more general fund revenues to support the system. So a step in the right direction. Thank you.
You've got quite a variety of expertise up here on the council. We've got business people, we've got engineers, we've got someone who worked for CAP, and each of us has something that I think we bring to the table. I heard, and I can't verify this, but I heard today that Lake Powell may go down to Deadpool next year. I mean, it's really dire. As a science person, I understand what's going on. It does not look good. I think we've got to do what we can. I commend the staff, but in terms of getting water from the Colorado River, it is tough. Sometimes as I've talked about this, because I look into the situation area-wide from my scientific point of view, and if you want to play poker, you do not want a hand that Arizona has in terms of dealing with our long-range water. So it's going to be a huge challenge. I think the upper basin states are looking at us and they're saying, well, you guys are using all your water. We're not using what we were originally supposed to have. It's not quite that simple. For example, the upper basin states have been required to send an average of 7.5 million acre feet of water to the lower basin through the Glen Canyon Dam. As of this year, they will be in default. How we deal with that, I don't know, but I certainly hope that we're not looking at a situation where we're making huge use of lawyers. Hopefully, as a country, we can do this, and hopefully, the federal government is probably going to have to get into it, and hopefully, we can come through this, and everyone does what we can. We just need to rethink how we use water. Water, in some cases, is considered to be a renewable resource. In Arizona, particularly groundwater, it's not a renewable resource. To me, the real measure of how we're doing as a state is our groundwater. Our groundwater is like our investment. It's our money in the bank. And it really worries me the way that we're going from using surface water and decreasing that, but we're also still using a lot of groundwater. So as citizens of the state, I hope that you'll look at that in terms of the decisions you make at the polls and also keeping yourself informed. So thank you.
So this letter, and I don't know how people feel, the one that the mayor read, was based on council decisions over 20 years ago. Times are changing, things are changing. I would agree with the mayor and Catherine and Cynthia. I don't want to see the feds get involved, because then this thing's going to go to litigation for about 20 years or longer, and we'll all be out of here. So I'm voting for it.
Dusty?
It's not really a choice. We can't, as you said, Mayor, we can't continue supporting all of the safety improvements that we've done with the fire and increased sheriff's presence and all the other things, and at the same time continue subsidizing water that we have been. It's not a choice. There's only a finite amount of money, and we're kind of picking our poison here. But in this particular case, the water rates, they're going to go up, and there's not really anything that we can do about it. And these are reasonable rate increases, and I don't see that there's any other option.
Joe?
Keep in mind that out of the 24 towns and cities in Maricopa County, this is the most difficult place to get water to, Cave Creek.
Okay, with that, I don't hear any more. We've had our hearing, and we've had all the comments and questions and gave the public a chance to weigh in. So it's time for a vote. Let's do it. Let's try a voice vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 6-0. Okay, we are on to the next, which is a council discussion, possible approval of the Horny Toad special event application during the period of March 27th, 2026 to April 5th, 2026 per town code 114.02.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. All right, let me get my stuff together. So before you, at the moment is the special event application for the Horny Toad. You just read the title. The background on this is per town code, any event, any special event permit that comes forward for a period of time longer than 4 consecutive days per week has to come to council for approval. Again, this request is for the period of March 27th of 2026 through April 5th of 2026. The event application was submitted with all the necessary documentation. Again, per town code, it is required to come forward to you. This event does overlap with the first weekend of Bike Week. That is typically going to be the least busy weekend. Our department directors did review, and the application was approved by everybody. So we are recommending approval for this event application. There is no, this event application does not have any restrictions for any of the roadway or anything. So it's completely on their property.
I would like to say that after this last weekend, and we had some issues in town with an event, and I don't think anybody realized what they were up to, and it upset a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people were upset. I think we need to, before we approve this, I think we need to know exactly what people are doing right now with these events. They need to give us a little bit more information, because if they veer left, like what happened this weekend, we just can't have that happen again.
So we do have the applicant here,
Okay.
and he could give a little bit of description. I do also have the event application itself.
Teresa, before the applicant comes up, do you want to explain the process, what's involved in the review?
So, yes, so basically the applicant, we have a form that's, I would call it generic. Oh, could you keep? It's on the screen right now. So the form comes through. We do have a list on there. Let's see if I can find it. With a narrative of what the event is. Typically, it's usually pretty detailed as far as what the event will be. We cannot always guess when there will be changes. But we do look at what is being proposed to be coming forward to us. We then look at traffic control, security, if there's going to be a extension of premise for the liquor, and how that is involved in making sure that all the rules, because there are some state laws that have to be followed for extension of premise. If any road closures, if there will be any, signage, site plans are looked at. And then we do acquire the vendor list. So everyone that's setting up that's a vendor that's setting up a tent to do business on that property will also, or for the event, it's also required to have a business license. Liability insurance, if it's more, if they're going to be more visitors than what the facility typically hosts as far as for restroom facilities, we do require additional bathrooms. And then any additional, as you can see, any additional noise, litter, or lighting plans, if they're going to have them. If the property is a rental or leased, then the property owner also has to authorize. And again, it goes through every department to make sure that anything that's a town code requirement is also followed. So again, there could be things that aren't necessarily covered in the narrative that may come up. We try to do spot checks and go out and check on events. And then if we do complaints, we do also go out for that as well. But not to bring up this weekend, but that is pretty much the gist of what happens in the process.
Could Brian scroll down so we can actually read the description?
Oh, do you want a bit like this?
Up, right?
Yeah, up there.
Oh, was that you? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
So the
Scrolling.
purpose here is to prevent problems.
Correct.
Um,
Correct.
And we didn't recently. So, and yet, and we don't have anything in here on noise.
So the, yes, noise, litter, and lighting plans are in here too, but it is required that everyone follows the town codes and the noise ordinance, or ordinances, I should say, codes, ordinances. And the following the noise ordinance is one of the requirements.
And what if they don't?
That is ultimately up to our code enforcement
So
and follow up.
that's a good question, because the last 2 out of the 3 weekends, we've had a couple of incidents. And MCSO, as you know, are unable to enforce our own noise ordinances. So in those cases, we bring the town marshal in to do a special enforcement action. He was out of town this weekend, so he was not able to do that. Under normal circumstances, he does come in. He did come in when Councilmember Augerton reported to me a problem that was going on at Frontier Town 2 weekends ago with truck racing and on Cave Creek Road for an event that was at Frontier Town. So he dealt with that. He came into town, dealt with that. And so they were able to do enforcement actions. The mayor sent an email today because of a number of council members have been contacted by residents because of the continued disturbances for some of these special events. And some of them are the usual suspects that we've seen in the past. So the staff and I are going to be coming back to you with some proposed changes to our policies and procedures, and also have some other tools to help do enforcement for these events. So I don't want to hold that up for tonight, but that is something that is going to be coming before you to address. So
There's kind of, what I've noticed is as we kind of get a problem solved, and then the lawless element, we don't enforce, and the lawless attitude by the people who are coming to town takes over, and it keeps getting worse until we have a crisis. So it's an out of control process. It's doomed to failure. If we fix this one thing, there's another thing a year from now that's going to do. So I would really like to put in a process, and I'd like to see stipulations in here where the event has contact. For example, I can see stipulations going on this that say, you've got to have a number. I'm not taking this from our VRBO, the policy. You've got to have a responsible party. They've got to have a number. It's got to be communicated to the public, to the neighbors around there, because they're taking the heat and the nuisance for the whole town. I don't hear it. I live up too far north, although I can hear it once in a while. But it seems to me like the process needs to be shortcut before we get to the law enforcement area, where whoever's putting the event on is held responsible for this.
We do on the application have a point of contact on the application. So
But the people, who does somebody call if the neighbor across the creek
fair enough.
is disturbed and can't sleep because of noise?
Mayor,
they call?
we'll put together something that will be comprehensive that addresses this, because we shouldn't have to be having our residents go through and do the online complaint form after the fact.
Right.
So there's got to be something more responsive than that. So we will be coming back to you with something for your review and direction on. The other thing I want to let you know, while he was out of town, the town marshal did contact the business that we're talking about that was having the issues over the weekend. On the afternoon of Saturday at its worst, and so the owner did take heed to his concerns, and Sunday was much quieter as a result.
Well, I'm going to make a motion after we finish all the questions. I see you, Tom, that we put this off 2 weeks until we come back with a set of stipulations.
Didn't I say that?
Even if they're just temporary, responsible party, phone number, a way to quickly get the problem solved without before we hit the law enforcement area, like we did with the short-term rentals. That's what I was trying to think of a little while ago.
Hey, I just want to say one thing here. Recently, and we're talking about ordinances, how are we going to enforce them? I heard that somewhere recently, but yeah, this is exactly what we're talking about. So, we got to be proactive. That's something I've been saying about other things too. If we're not proactive in this, we're gonna get eaten alive by the people. None of us will be sitting up here in the future, whether we want to or not. And I'm all for the Horny Toad. I went to your event last year and I saw the Chapman brothers and everybody, and it was very good. You guys did a good job, but we have to be right now. I agree with the mayor. We've got to retool this thing before we approve anything else. We can't grandfather somebody in tonight and then change it later. Sorry.
I did have one question for Mr. Kettler. Is this going to be, if we delay this 2 weeks, is this going to impact you?
No. So hi everybody, by the way.
What is your name?
My name is Roman Kettler. I'm one of the co-owners of the Horny Toad. I run the place pretty much day in, day out. We cater to a much less rowdy crowd than some of my neighbors do. And we will be wrapping up our event by 9 o'clock every night. Some nights earlier, around 8. We're not the late night spot, not the late night crowd. We don't have to worry about that so much of it. Anytime that we have anything that's beyond that, it's going to be internal that we have entertainment going on beyond that, which wouldn't really pertain to any noise ordinances. And our clientele is a little more relaxed, we'll say.
Why don't you describe your event? Because I think it is considerably different than the other ones we've seen that are by your neighbors.
What we did last year was a very similar version of this. We did 2 separate smaller events, but what we want to do is capitalize, bringing fun and family-friendly vendors to town. that are going to be selling in our parking lot, which is the biggest piece of this puzzle that is different than our normal everyday business, is having them get their business licenses through the city, getting some more revenue, and getting more sales through this event itself. We're going to be containing our liquor and beverage sales and food sales within the confines of the regular premise, which I have outlined in the application as well. We're not doing extension of premise with the liquor this year. It brought a little more of a rowdier crowd than we were looking for, and we had to get a little more security for that. We will have security this year, just like we did last year. We don't want to utilize them as much as we did last year, though. So we want to keep it a calm, family-friendly environment, even though maybe families won't come out that time. We did kind of not utilize all of our parking last year, and we want to open up a lot more parking because that tends to be a big problem in just that row anyways. You can't find a spot for a car to save your soul. It's all bike parking, bike. So we want to be a place that's friendly and open to four-wheelers, essentially. Come in, have your food, do a normal service, maybe stay for a band or two, and then head home. We're not the all-night kind of clubby place. All in all, we want it to be an inviting event that people can come back to year after year. I personally jumped into the Horny Toad about 1.5 years ago, and my whole thing was I want to play ball with some of this fun event that we do for Bike Week, but I don't want to go to the extremes that we are with some of my neighbors. I don't want to make it a rowdy crowd. I don't want to make it a thing where I need to, call the marshal over and say, hey, we've got some issues over here.
So why did you choose to do it the same time as Bike Week?
I want to capture those people, but to come in and have not a rowdy experience for our biker crowd too. I love that clientele. I love that culture, love the music. But not everybody wants to just be shoved into a sardine can and shoved music into their face and say, please buy this, please buy that. We had a nice open concept last year. It was spacious. People could come and go as they please, as long as they got rid of their alcoholic beverages in a timely manner before they crossed certain thresholds. We want to participate in Bike Week, but we don't want to be associated fully as a Bike Week place, if that makes sense.
I just so you know, I'm with you guys, as we say in rugby, with you. But before we grant anybody, it doesn't matter if it's Janie's or whoever, we just have to have a more tighter code. We can't, say, well, these guys have to have a tighter code because they had the rowdies down there last weekend, or Frontier Town I heard about. I mean, we've got to do this. And again, once we do it, we're good, and you'll definitely be part of the festivities as you always are.
Good. That would be great.
Tom, I'm going to give it the floor to you.
Thank you. We have a multifaceted community. Some people think the arts are great. I don't know that disturbs anybody. I rather like the motorcyclists. Believe it or not, I have a motorcycle license that I haven't used in a while. But there needs to be a working between the town and the businesses. I think it looks like you got into a situation where it was difficult. And I want to note that when we first got Bike Week coming up here, Marshall Stein worked with the posse, and they did a great job of helping to decrease the amount of conflicts that took place. I think we need someone who is there to enforce the town codes when Mr. Stein, Marshall Stein is not available. So I suspect that a major issue here is that our person who does an excellent job of keeping these things under control just wasn't here, and we needed better coverage to work with you. Thank you.
Cynthia, did you want to question? We're kind of mixing questions and comments, but go ahead and take it.
We're still on question, but no, again, I think the consideration is just being consistent. Just because we've approved other special use permits for Bike Week doesn't mean that additional stipulations can't be added to ensure that the noise complaints and the traffic complaints are handled in an improved manner. So I think any further discussion, whether it relates to this special use permit or not, could be considered for the ones already prescribed for Bike Week.
Yeah, and the Horny Toad's an institution in town, and we're all for you. It's just that you happen to come in on the day after we got all these emails and complaints about another event. So yeah, we'll get this all straightened out. And so I'm going to make a motion that we defer this till the next meeting and come back with stipulations to get their permit.
Mayor, could you say the second meeting? Because
2 weeks.
yeah, we can't, it's supposed to be due like tomorrow, so we can't have that
Oh,
done in
okay,
time.
okay. Will that affect your, because if you don't, we can put in I'm ready to make a motion to put in temporary procedures. But
Yeah, the only thing that I'm waiting on, we still have to book bands and things like that, and time is of the essence, and some of the good ones get taken. And last year we brought in people from San Diego and Cali and that kind of thing. But if you guys need time to get this sorted out, I'm fine with that too.
well, I'm willing to put in. Let me just put it in the form of a motion right now, and we'll let you comment on where this motion meets it. And number one is that we post special event signs so the neighbors can see them with a phone number, and we appoint a responsible party to answer that phone call if something comes on. And 3, that you adjust the direction of any speakers to avoid nuisance or violation of the town sound code. Those 3 things.
Second.
Let's hear what you have to say. Would that
Those are
work?
reasonable. That's absolutely.
Anybody on council have a
Works for me.
So this is for tonight, and then they're gonna come up with something,
longer term?
a longer term, but not just for Bike Week, for all events.
For all.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay. Other comments? Okay, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. So you got your
Party.
permit.
Thank you, council. Appreciate it.
Next on the agenda is council discussion and possible approval of resolution number 2026-02, adopting the Town of Cave Creek Council Rules of Procedures.
Good evening again. So, for so our council, touched it. Waiting for the PowerPoint to come up. Okay. There it goes. All right, so town council held a council retreat this last year on February 6th. And at that time, staff was directed to move forward in drafting a council rules of procedures called rules, just for short. These rules are going to be basically providing a written process for us conducting official business. And they were established in accordance with all the state laws or what we have in town code currently and the town code of conduct. This is a base. What you have in front of you is a base and can be and will be modified by your approval as appropriate. So this version is pulling from both the current town code and our current best practices. Really the only change at this time that is in there is in section 17, when we are referencing the boards and commissions. We also added in ad hoc committees. So we actually called out ad hoc committees. The rest of the rules are, like I said, based off of what we have currently been doing and what is in town code. So we have, if these are approved, first of all, these will be posted to our website. And we'll also use these for future training of all our councils. But as we've been doing this, we did find some areas of town code that could use a little updating. And then you may also be giving direction in the future of other items to update. An example, or a couple examples, there is in town code language that says the mayor is not allowed to be absent for a period greater than 15 days. We now have, I don't remember when that was actually put in, I should have looked at the date, but we now have virtual attendance as an option. So if someone has gone longer than 2 weeks, they can actually join a meeting virtually. We have a section of town code regarding acting mayor. If the mayor is not available, and we're looking to just update that with what is used as basically for like a best practice, what's used in many other municipalities, and that will be pro tem instead of acting mayor.
So for clarification, the vice mayor will still be the acting mayor
Correct.
in the
Yes,
absence
we
of
did.
the mayor. This is a third tier. Basically, if the mayor and the vice mayor were both out of town, then this mayor pro tem would be the person that would be able to step up.
So all suggested changes would come back to, again, for the council for approval, and you would actually get the, if these are approved, this would be the base, so you would actually see like red line changes. So, which I did not have any because this is a brand new document, so it's all brand new. All right, that was my
Questions? Questions down here to the left? Questions to the right? I have a couple. Why not restrict all signs? And we may have to get,
What section?
let's see. There, section 13.4. It says, demonstrations shall not be permitted or the use of signs that impede viewing of the meeting by members of the public.
We can change that. That's just kind of the, in looking at other
Giving an
municipalities as
opportunity to
well.
communicate
Yeah,
verbally, yeah. So that would be,
I can just say signs are not permitted.
the second one is you need to run grammar check on this. There's some grammar errors in here.
Fair enough.
I'd tell you what they are, but that would spoil your fun.
I like fun.
Another one on here is why 2/3 and 3/4? Couldn't we standardize? I mean, 2/3 would be 5 votes, 3/4 would be 6 votes. Is there rationale between why something is different like that?
Well, 1310 is 2/3 majority vote is one.
Imagine that.
It's not a statute. You can be consistent. We can still take off.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I'll double check that with, okay.
So one would be, you could have one dissenter and the other one you had 2 dissenters.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, we'll double check that against the town code because I feel like there's something in town code and make sure. And we'll keep it as one.
and the last thing is, a definition of decorous behavior, and personal attacks. You know, disagreements would not be personal attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what is a personal attack? We might want to get some legal advice on that.
Luckily, Mayor, that's your call. I mean, seriously, they're very
Oh,
difficult
okay.
to define. You as the
And-
chair to make those decisions.
Okay.
Gives you discretion.
Yeah.
I would
Okay.
think that it would be something along the line of disparaging comments.
Or vulgarity or loud voice.
Name calling or, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Might want to throw a couple examples in there, no name calling, no foul language, no yelling.
Can we control language like that, Bill? Like foul language?
Yelling, yes, you can. Name calling, yes, you can. You can't control what they're saying and say,
Right.
we don't like what you're saying, but it's how you're saying it. Unless they're saying something that's completely outside the jurisdiction of the town, like, I don't think we should be invading Venezuela. I mean, that you would then step in and say, it has nothing to do with Cape Creek.
Okay.
I wanted to bring one thing up. You mentioned ad hoc committees. I know that the staff after the last go around said that they were going to come to us with a recommendation that we would talk about and possibly vote on to the size of the ad hoc committees, et cetera. Where's that at right now? Is that in here or is that somewhere else?
The size is not in here.
Okay.
You don't want to have everything so narrowly defined, then it doesn't give you flexibility. And so I think, as we were talking about on some of the other points, it gives the chair, for instance, like if somebody is, misbehaving at a meeting, and let's just say there's a few of those definitions that are not there, but he cites specifically that this person was, doing this or making faces at people or something like that, that he considers disparaging. So the point is, I think you keep it more flexible. It gives the council more opportunities to have that flexibility to decide how to approach, say, an appointment to an ad hoc committee. Now, we're following all the procedures that we already have in our town code for boards, commissions, and other committees. So we wanted to make sure, I believe it was Councilmember Driscoll, wanted to make sure that we had some procedural kind of information in either, if not the town code and rules of procedure, since we're already updating rules of procedure. So.
I definitely, and I hear what you're saying, but we also have had alternates in the past. I think that we have to have a low number and a high number. Can't go below this number, can't go above this number. So there'd still be flexibility. So you could have 7 to 11, for example. So depending on including a number of alternates, 2 or 3, say, that would come in and fill spots. But we can't have the whole town be on an ad hoc committee.
Okay. So do you have any other questions?
Just
Yeah,
one
so-
question in section 18, 5 on meetings. It references that members should be, if they're attending by electronic means, that they need to keep their camera on full time unless they request to step away. And I know I didn't do that in the past, and in the planning commission meetings, likewise, there's, because of the distractibility, people tend to just, come off camera while they're listening. But if that is the preferred procedure, then we should probably be consistent with that.
Well, Mag, they only have their cameras on during votes. They don't have it
Right.
on all the time to avoid distractions. And, we've had times when someone was half the screen, one face was half the screen, and the people at home didn't really appreciate that to start with.
I think the reason why that might be in there is, and I've observed this before at other city councils, is that you may have a council member that's on a trip or travel, their spouse is in the same hotel room with them. And so that's why they have the camera, to make sure that there's somebody that shouldn't be in an e-session in that e-session.
Sessions are different.
Yeah, so maybe we could identify that separately.
Okay.
That's a good point.
Good one. Anything else?
So, well, I think we had an e-session where I was not able to participate except by phone. So there isn't, some of us do have to travel here. And if you go up to someplace like Show Low or Pine, there's no internet. So there's no way in heck you're going to get any kind of anything other than maybe cell coverage if you're lucky. So.
And we can.
I mean, I think you want to
note that
decide
as well.
something that in there, just because that's the only way it works.
Okay, with that, we have enough direction now for you to proceed?
I think so.
Okay, so we're looking for a motion to adjourn to our executive session. Well, or do we need?
Do we need to approve this?
So,
Yeah,
Move
I
to
mean,
approve resolution
okay.
2026-02.
Second.
with modifications.
What's it noted?
Yeah, with noted.
with the note changes?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, and who had you had the motion?
Yeah.
Dusty? Who had the second?
Cynthia.
Second.
Second, Cynthia. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Okay, now the next motion is for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.